Have you ever been in the heat of the moment and your mind just goes blank? Well, today we're exploring exactly why that happens. It's a concept called reactive narrowing, and it's a fundamental part of how our brains are wired to keep us safe. So let's start with something I'm sure we can all relate to. Picture this. You're in a tense meeting, or perhaps a difficult conversation, and all of a sudden you find your mind has gone completely empty. You know what you want to say, but the words just aren't there. That very experience is what we're delving into today. You know, that feeling of your mind seizing up isn't just you, it actually has a name. And it's a process our brains initiate for a very specific reason. So let's begin by looking at what this experience of narrowing really is. The formal term for it is reactive narrowing. It's essentially a temporary reduction in our cognitive and emotional capacity. And it's triggered when our nervous system detects an immediate threat, stress, or uncertainty. It's not a conscious choice. It's a lightning-fast biological response designed for one thing: survival. So, why does this actually happen? Well, the answer lies deep within our biology and the brain's number one priority, which is, of course, keeping us safe. Our brains are fundamentally wired for survival. It's an ancient and highly efficient system that allowed our ancestors to react instantly to, say, a predator in the bushes. It works by bypassing the slower, more deliberate part of the brain that would normally weigh up the options. And the speed of this biological sequence is just astonishing. It all starts with a perceived threat. This triggers the amygdala. You can think of it as the brain's alarm system. The amygdala, in turn, activates the sympathetic nervous system, preparing the body for that classic fight-or-flight response. And this entire cascade happens in just a fraction of a second. As part of this preparation, our body undergoes a whole cascade of changes. Your heart pounds to pump more blood, your breathing quickens to take in more oxygen, your muscles tense up, ready for action, and stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your system. In an instant, your body is completely primed for physical action. But here's the thing. This state of high alert comes at a cost. There's a fundamental trade-off between being in this survival mode and our ability to think clearly. So let's explore what that trade-off actually looks like. And this is the trade-off right here. The prefrontal cortex, which you can think of as the brain's chief executive, responsible for all our most sophisticated skills like planning and emotional regulation, becomes temporarily less accessible. As the brain diverts all its resources to survival, it's not that this part of the brain is offline, it's just much, much harder to get to. The traffic light processing framework offers a really useful way to understand this. A green state represents a nervous system that feels connected and is ready for social engagement. Reactivity narrowing occurs when a perceived threat pushes the system towards an orange state of alarm or even a red state of defense. Our capacity narrows simply because the system is preparing to respond to danger. And the result of all this is a clear shift in our behavior. When those more thoughtful, reflective parts of our brain are less accessible, we become more reflexive. We start to act more on instinct rather than on considered thought. So if we find ourselves stuck in this narrowed state, how do we get out? Well, the good news is that we can actually learn to support our nervous system in shifting back, moving from a state of narrowing to one of widening. Now, it's absolutely crucial to remember that reactive narrowing is not a permanent condition. It is a temporary, state-dependent response. It's a state, and the great thing about states is that they can and do change. The biological system responsible for this recovery is the parasympathetic nervous system. You can think of it as the brake to the sympathetic nervous system's accelerator. It works by sending signals of safety throughout the body, helping to calm the storm and restore our balance. When it's activated, our capacity begins to widen again. And we can intentionally help this process along. You know, these simple body-focused strategies are incredibly powerful because they work by sending those essential signals of safety back to the brain. Slowing your breathing, deliberately pausing, focusing on the feeling of your feet on the floor, or simply reducing sensory input. All these things can help your nervous system recognize that the immediate threat has passed. So, after all of that, what is the single most important takeaway? What should we remember? When your mind goes blank or you feel overwhelmed, it is so easy to feel that it's some kind of personal flaw or a failure of discipline. But it's not. It is a normal protective feature of your biology, doing exactly what it evolved to do, to protect you. Ultimately, reactive narrowing is your body's attempt to keep you safe. The path back to clarity isn't about forcing yourself to think. It's about helping your nervous system feel safe again. Because when that sense of safety returns, so does your capacity to think, to connect, and to solve problems.